Hype and truth. Two choices we make every day but don't consciously think about. What's the first thing we choose when we are free? Bible or video games? Church or parties? Prayer or talking to friends for hours? What is it that we prioritize? What do we run to when things get tough? Hype or truth? Too often we fool ourselves into thinking that hype can fulfill us when really, God and His truth is what will truly fulfill us, not hype. Now is the time that we decide whether we will pursue God and His truth or pursue our earthly desires. Eventually, it'll be too late to decide. We are not promised tomorrow. Point number 1, open your eyes. 2 Timothy 4:3-4. For a time is coming when people will no longer listen to sound and wholesome teaching. They will follow their own desires and will look for teachers who will tell them whatever their itching ears want to hear. They will reject the truth and chase after myths. Why waste time being engulfed in the world and its culture? Yeah, it may seem fun for the time being, but it's just going to be thrown away and forgotten when the day of judgment arrives. All you're going to get is endless suffering and hell going down that path thinking it's cool all the time. People say, don't get caught up in the future and worry about the now here on earth. Live in the moment. Savor it. They're using it in the wrong context. If you don't ever think about your future, then your life will be a stalemate. There'll be no goal in your life you're trying to aim for since you're so caught up in all the hype. Yet, they still think it's cool. But that's what stumps me. What is so cool about being tortured endlessly, with no breaks at all, being all alone, unless you accept demons as friends, Satan as your homeboy, which they will not be. Satan may seem encouraging in this life without God, but just wait till the time comes. You'll see how much he hates you, how much he is disgusted by you. But Satan will sugarcoat it during your time here on earth. By the time you realize, if things don't change, it'll probably be too late. Gotta stop walking blind. For some of us, we may only be chasing hype because of the comfort and escape from fear and failure it seems to give us. But in reality, it will only trap us in that fear and failure. Point number 2, don't bail when you fail. 2 Corinthians 4:16. That is why we never give up. Though our bodies are dying, our spirits are being renewed every day. Each time I ever failed in the past, I would always be so hard on myself. Instead of seeing my failure's learning curve, I hid from it in my own fear by going to all these cool events and trying to live in the moment. In other words, I would chase hype. But that never fulfilled me. Instead, that hype chase was draining me. Draining me of all the times I could have ran to God. Our failure is never too big for God. It doesn't matter how much you messed up in your past. Don't give up. You can still start new. By us saying it's impossible to get out of our failure, we're basically saying that Jesus' death on the cross is not enough. That forgiveness and grace is not enough for us. Jesus didn't die for nothing. Let's not treat his death in vain. But hold up. Reality check. How often do we take advantage of this life we're given by Jesus' death on the cross? Why are we taking our walk so lightly? Why are we hiding the truth and love we were called to share as soon as we are faced with anything difficult? Point number 3. We shall take no part of easy. Hebrews 12:1-2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily strips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now, he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Why must we complain if we never had to go through all that Jesus did? 40 days in the blazing relentless desert, no food, just water, a crown of thorns pressed down into his skull, whipped with bones and lead tearing off his flesh, hung up at the cross with nails driven into his hands and feet, not to mention what other followers had to go through then in current times. John the Baptist and Paul decapitated, Peter hung upside down on the cross, people shot and killed for their faith, because they knew that it would be worth it in the end. Yes, their bodies may have been destroyed, but no one or thing on earth can destroy our spirits. Besides, the persecution we typically mainly have to go through here in America is child's play compared to that. Yet, we still complain. But what if instead of using a barrage of complaints and excuses, we decide to always obey? What if we're led by obedience, discipline, and most of all the truth, God and His truth? We need to open our eyes. We have to stop fooling ourselves into thinking that hype can truly fulfill us. Only God and His truth can. We cannot bail as soon as we fail. We shall take no part of easy. Let's not chase hype, but instead, the truth.